Someone recently said to me, you should show us how to sample or how you sample in FL Studio. That's exactly what I'm gonna do today. Let's get into the video. Music producers, what's up and welcome back to another video. It's me, They Call Me Heat. If this is your first time watching any of my videos today, I'm a music producer of over 15 years. And on my channel right here, I show producers how to make some of the best boom bap, hip hop style beats. So on the channel here, I'm mainly focused on sample-based content, sample-based beat making. Doesn't really mean that we're always sampling from vinyl, doesn't mean that we're always sampling or using samples from like loop packs or sample packs. Sometimes I make my own samples and flip that. A lot of people that watch the channel don't really know how to sample when it comes to using FL Studio. And this is what today's video will be based on. But I'm gonna show you my process and how I go about finding loops, finding the part of the sample that I wanna use, and then putting that in FL and then, chopping it up. Let me show you what I'm talking about though. All right, so I have a sample here by artist. The artist is called Corveria. Corveria is the artist name. So there's not a lot of change up in that beginning, but you can still get a little intricate or get a little freaky with the sample too, just depending on how you chop it. So listening to this, we can either chop this into 16 beats or we can chop it into 32 beats. Now, how do we figure that out? Back in the day, I would count like the chops out. After you found like a space, count the chops, right? And you have to count it on beat. So I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. From the point that you started at, that's number one, that's your first chop. So from that first downbeat is your first chop. So right here in this beginning area, this is your first chop. So that's chop number one. So as soon as we hit space bar, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Doing so every kick snare is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 chops right there. The one thing that blew my mind is just knowing that I needed to like count out the chops. Not just grabbing a loop and be like, it's not chopping right, it's not good. It's because the loop does have to be perfect. So you can't just have a random spot. Even if you do grab a random spot, it still has to make sense. So that's one spot. I'm gonna actually mark this section, and you just do that by right clicking over the marker button here, and it'll make a region. So if I were to grab, let's say in the middle of that section, same thing, the same concept applies as where you'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now that's micro chopping because the loop is much smaller than the previous loop. So now your chops are going to be a little bit tighter than what it would have been if we did it from the whole region here. So I'm gonna show you both ways. I'm gonna add 2 fruity slicers in here really quick, and then we're gonna go grab the shorter loop. Now we have 2 loops, one long, one short. All right, so for the longer one, we'll chop it into 32 beats. For the shorter one, we'll chop it into 16 beats, which is what it already is set to here, as you can see. And I like to change the chopping stretching method to Pro Transient just because it sounds better. It doesn't sound grainy when I start changing the actual pitch. So now with the longer sample, here's what it sounds like. When you chop it in the smaller pieces, you do have to play it faster. So instead of it being, which is what you would do if it was 16 beats, with 32, you're playing it a little bit faster, unless the loop is longer and you're chopping into 32 beats. Theoretically, you're chopping it into 16 beats if the loop is longer. You're just putting more chops in there, if that makes any sense. Music producers, are you struggling with making better beats? You make a beat and it's stuck in the loop and you just don't know what to do? Listen, head over to boombapuniversity.com to grab up the Cooking That Boom Bap Masterclass. In this course, I'm showing you literally how to chop samples, how to make better drum patterns, how to get those drums to knock, because I'm teaching you how to mix too. And like I said, I'm gonna teach you how to arrange that beat from that loop or that 8-bar loop that you have, turn it into a full beat so that you can give it to someone so they can rap on it, they can sing on it, or you wanna put it on a beat tape. Either way, I'm gonna show you exactly the full process on how I make my beats, how I find samples, how I make my drums knock in 1 2-hour course. Cooking that Boom Bap Masterclass, head over to boombapuniversity.com and pick up that course. Let's get back into the video. So now with the sample being shorter and we have it on 16 chops, now we have to play it out as if it was the same way as it's being chopped in 32 beats because it's a shorter loop. So now it actually has to be played like, versus if we set the longer sample to 16 chops, it would then sound like this when we're playing it out. So hopefully you're getting that. Hopefully you're kind of understanding what I'm saying here. So for longer samples, you're probably going to end up chopping it into more pieces because the sample is longer. Now, why would I need to chop it into 32? So micro chopping is basically turning the sample into a one shot. You're not trying to have this long piece. You just want this, because then you can do things like, and you can make a brand new melody out of this sample. So I'm gonna find some drums really quick, show you what that would sound like over some drums. And if you want this sample here, this is in our Choppy Snacks Volume 1 sample pack, available now on boombapuniversity.com. You can grab that up. Woo, them drums right there. Woo-hoo. Now you hear how that kind of falls into place when you chop it at 32. Now, of course, you do have to hit the pad or the keys a little bit more than your normal, just letting it play when it's at 16 beats. But with 32 beats, it just gives you more control over your chopping, allows you to kind of create a melody or a new melody versus, you know, trying to replay the sample in a different way. So the shorter sample that we have, since 16 beats is essentially double of our time. With this sample, because it's shorter, we would set it at 8 beats. It's a shorter sample. We don't need to chop it into smaller pieces unless that's something that you want to do. Here's what it's going to sound like when I put it over the drums. And you can go different ways with it too. This is just an example with this because of the way that the sample is. I would probably chop this into smaller pieces just because it's more instrument than it is like vocals, things like that. So you don't really have anything that you're trying to really flip too much. Don't get it twisted. It won't always be that way for every sample. You have to kind of experiment and try different things to just see what works. But as of right now, this sample is not good when it's chopped in larger pieces. So that, as you can see, the 8 chops here are bigger slices versus the 32 here is very smaller, intricate, more micro chopping. You want your sample to fall into your groove, not with the tempo. If I just wanted to follow the tempo, I would probably just loop the sample. But for me to really get that groove, to really make something new, to really make people feel it, I make the sample follow what I want to do, you know, not vice versa. Because if I follow the sample, it's going to sound stale. It's not going to sound good. Not all the time. Sometimes some samples, they are very good just looped up. We hear it all the time. But sometimes though, it's so much better when you chop it up because it becomes a brand new like piece. If you like what you heard, if you like the sounds, the samples that were used in today's video, they will be available for download on patreon.com/TheycallmeHeat. So you get every sounds in all the videos every single week. But if you want samples like this, we do have them available at boombapuniversity.com. So that's where you can go check out all of our sample packs, things like that. Until next time, y'all, again, I hope I inspire somebody out there to go cook that boom bap, and I'm gonna get up out of here. Peace, y'all.